Why do people start disliking seniors after 60? It's a question that feels uncomfortable, even a little cruel, yet it quietly shapes families, workplaces, and entire societies. Aging is something every human being is moving toward, but the moment someone crosses that invisible line into old age, the way they are seen, treated, and valued often changes. Not because they suddenly became less human, less intelligent, or less worthy, but because society carries unspoken fears, expectations, and misunderstandings about aging. Today, we are going to talk honestly about the real truth no one talks about. Not to blame, not to shame, but to understand what is really happening beneath the surface and why this shift in attitude exists in the first place. From the outside, it often looks like impatience. Seniors are labeled as slow, outdated, stubborn, or difficult. Younger people complain that older adults don't get it, that they resist change, that they are out of touch with modern life. Families sometimes describe aging parents as burdens, even when they love them deeply. Employers quietly push older workers toward retirement, believing productivity has an expiration date. But these surface-level complaints are not the real reason people begin to distance themselves emotionally from seniors. They are symptoms of something deeper, something rooted in fear, insecurity, cultural conditioning, and unresolved emotional tension. One of the biggest unspoken reasons people start disliking seniors after 60 is fear of mortality. Aging is a mirror no one wants to look into for too long. When people see seniors, they are not just seeing another person, they are seeing a future version of themselves. Wrinkles, slower movement, health struggles, memory lapses, these are reminders that time is undefeated. For many, this creates discomfort that turns into avoidance. Instead of confronting the reality that life is temporary, people subconsciously push seniors away. Dislike becomes a defense mechanism. If aging can be dismissed, joked about, or criticized, then maybe it feels less threatening. This isn't hatred, it's fear disguised as judgment. Another powerful factor is how modern society measures value. Today's world rewards speed, adaptability, innovation, and constant productivity. Youth is marketed as energy, beauty, and relevance, while aging is framed as decline. Once someone passes 60, society often assumes they're past their prime, no longer capable of contributing in meaningful ways. This mindset slowly erodes respect. When a person is no longer seen as useful in economic terms, their voice becomes easier to ignore. Their opinions are brushed aside as outdated, even when they are grounded in decades of lived experience. The tragedy is that wisdom, something that can only come with time, is treated as inferior to novelty. There is also the emotional complexity of generational differences. Seniors grew up in a very different world. Their values, communication styles, and coping mechanisms were shaped by experiences younger generations may never fully understand. Wars, economic hardship, social restrictions, and limited opportunities taught them resilience, discipline, and survival. But those same traits can appear rigid or emotionally distant today. Younger people, raised in a more expressive and fast-changing environment, sometimes interpret this difference as coldness or stubbornness. What looks like resistance to change is often a lifetime of adapting in quieter, less visible ways. As people age, they may also become more direct, less filtered, and less interested in pleasing others. They have spent decades compromising, sacrificing, and meeting expectations. After 60, many seniors simply stop pretending. They speak their truth more openly. To those not used to this honesty, it can feel uncomfortable or confrontational. Dislike grows not because seniors are wrong, but because they no longer prioritize social approval over authenticity. In a culture that values politeness over truth, this can be misinterpreted as negativity or bitterness. Health changes also play a role, and this is rarely discussed with compassion. Chronic pain, reduced mobility, hearing loss, and memory challenges can change a person's mood and behavior. Someone who was once cheerful may become irritable. Someone who was patient may become frustrated. These changes are not character flaws. They're human responses to physical discomfort and loss of independence. Yet society often expects seniors to age gracefully without complaint. When they don't, patience runs thin. People forget that emotional resilience is harder to maintain when the body is constantly under strain. Another uncomfortable truth is that seniors remind people of responsibility. Caring for aging parents or relatives forces adults to confront roles they are not prepared for. It shifts the power dynamic. The child becomes the caretaker. The independent adult becomes dependent. This reversal can trigger resentment, guilt, and emotional exhaustion. Instead of processing these feelings honestly, they are sometimes projected outward. Dislike becomes a way to justify emotional distance. It feels easier to label someone as difficult than to admit feeling overwhelmed or unprepared. In workplaces, ageism quietly thrives. Older employees are often seen as obstacles to progress rather than assets. There is an assumption that learning slows down after a certain age, that technology is intimidating, that creativity fades. These stereotypes ignore countless examples of seniors who continue to innovate, mentor, and lead with clarity. When seniors sense they are no longer wanted, their confidence may shrink. That insecurity is then misread as incompetence, reinforcing the very bias that caused it. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle of exclusion. Media representation plays a powerful role in shaping these attitudes. Seniors are often portrayed as forgetful, grumpy, or irrelevant. Rarely are they shown as complex individuals with passions, desires, humor, and ambition. When society repeatedly sees aging framed as decline, it becomes easier to internalize those messages. Younger generations grow up absorbing these narratives without questioning them. Over time, they don't just fear aging, they devalue it. There's also a deeper emotional layer that many people avoid acknowledging. Seniors carry stories, regrets, and unresolved emotions. They have lived long enough to experience loss, betrayal, missed opportunities, and disappointment. Sometimes that emotional weight surfaces in conversations, advice, or warnings. Younger people, focused on optimism and forward momentum, may feel drained by this realism. They want encouragement, not caution. But what they interpret as negativity is often wisdom shaped by experience. Seniors are not trying to limit dreams. They are trying to protect others from pain they themselves endured. At this point, if this conversation is making you think differently about the seniors in your life or about your own future, this is the moment to stay connected. Click the subscribe button and become part of a community that values truth, depth, and honest conversations that most people avoid. Because understanding these topics today shapes how we treat each other tomorrow. Another reason dislike creeps in after 60 is the loss of shared experiences. Friend groups shrink, social circles change, retirements happen. Conversations that once revolved around careers, ambitions, and busy schedules shift toward health concerns, memories, and reflection. For those still in the fast-paced phase of life, this shift can feel disconnected or boring. But what is often overlooked is that seniors are not choosing isolation. They are adapting to a changing world where their peers are disappearing and their priorities are evolving.
Technology has also widened the emotional gap. Rapid digital transformation has changed how people communicate, work, and socialize. Seniors who struggle to keep up are often mocked or dismissed. But technology was never designed with them in mind. Instead of offering patience and inclusion, society often treats this learning curve as a personal failure. Dislike grows not because seniors are unwilling to adapt, but because the world refuses to slow down long enough to meet them halfway. Perhaps the most painful truth is that society values potential more than presence. Younger people are seen as full of possibilities, while seniors are seen as having already lived their best years. This belief quietly strips older adults of dignity. But life does not stop being meaningful after 60. Growth does not end, contribution does not expire. The idea that relevance has an age limit is one of the most damaging myths ever created. When people begin to dislike seniors, they're often reacting to their own unresolved fears. Fear of becoming invisible, fear of losing control, fear of slowing down, fear of being forgotten. Seniors embody all of that, and instead of listening, learning, and connecting, society chooses distance. The truth no one talks about is this: the way a society treats its seniors reveals how it values humanity itself. Dislike is not inevitable, it is learned, and anything learned can be unlearned. As we come to the end of this conversation, it's important to pause and reflect. Aging is not a failure, it is a privilege denied to many. Seniors are not burdens, they are living archives of resilience, history, and survival. The impatience, discomfort, and judgment directed at them say far more about societal fears than about their worth. Every laugh line tells a story, every scar holds a lesson, every slow step is evidence of endurance. One day, the roles will reverse. The same world that rushes past seniors today will rush past us tomorrow. The question is not whether we will age, but how we will be treated when we do. By choosing empathy over avoidance, patience over judgment, and understanding over fear, we shape a future where aging is respected, not resented. And that future begins with awareness, honesty, and the courage to talk about the truths no one wants to face.
It's also worth acknowledging the silent emotional labor seniors carry every day. They have lived through decades of change, loss, and personal evolution, yet society rarely pauses to recognize the quiet strength required just to exist in a world that often marginalizes them. Seniors navigate complex health issues, shifts in family dynamics, and social invisibility, all while maintaining dignity, offering guidance, and sharing wisdom. And yet, when younger generations express frustration or impatience toward them, it can feel like a betrayal of the immense resilience seniors have demonstrated throughout their lives. Understanding this, even just a little, can transform our perspective from judgment to deep respect. Another element that fuels dislike is the mismatch between expectation and reality. Families often imagine a seamless transition into old age, expecting seniors to remain cheerful, agreeable, and completely self-sufficient. When health, memory, or temperament fluctuate, which is perfectly natural, the gap between expectation and reality creates tension. Younger people may misinterpret these changes as intentional annoyance or stubbornness rather than the normal adjustments that come with aging. By reframing this perspective, by understanding that behavior may be influenced by physical, emotional, or cognitive challenges, relationships can improve drastically. Awareness here isn't just helpful, it is transformative. Social isolation compounds these issues further. Once seniors retire or lose a spouse, friends, or close family members, their world often shrinks dramatically. Fewer daily interactions mean that any conversation they have may carry more weight, emotional intensity, or nostalgia. Younger people, accustomed to fast-paced and light interactions, may misread these emotional expressions as negativity or clinginess. But in reality, seniors are often trying to maintain connection in a world that has slowly reduced opportunities for meaningful engagement. Encouraging patience, empathy, and active listening can turn what might appear as difficult behavior into moments of connection and understanding. Social attitudes toward aging also play a significant role. In many societies, elders are revered, respected, and cared for. But in modern westernized contexts, aging is often equated with obsolescence.
Seniors are pushed aside, ignored in media, and excluded from public discourse. This cultural framing teaches people, almost from childhood, to view aging as undesirable and to treat seniors as less relevant. When people internalize these messages, their interactions with older adults can become subtly or overtly dismissive. Recognizing these societal influences can help break the cycle of disrespect and indifference. Financial dependency can further complicate relationships. When seniors rely on children or other family members for support, some may feel a sense of burden or frustration. But it is critical to remember that the emotions of frustration are natural human responses. They don't justify dismissiveness or disrespect. Instead, they highlight the importance of communication, empathy, and shared responsibility. Families who approach these situations with understanding, patience, and open dialogue often maintain stronger, more loving relationships than those who allow resentment to fester. Another key factor is intergenerational communication. Seniors often use language, references, and humor rooted in a different era. Younger people may not always recognize or understand these cues, leading to misinterpretation. Simple things like referencing a historical event, sharing a life lesson, or expressing humor in a way that feels old-fashioned can be misunderstood as outdated thinking. The reality is that communication is a bridge, not a barrier, and learning to bridge generational gaps is essential for mutual respect. When we make the effort to understand, we discover that seniors often possess a clarity of thought, historical perspective, and emotional intelligence that can profoundly enrich our lives if we are willing to listen. It's also essential to understand the transformative potential of seniors themselves. Far from being stuck in decline, many people after 60 embark on some of their most remarkable journeys, launching businesses, exploring new creative passions, learning new skills, traveling, volunteering, mentoring, or advocating for causes they care deeply about. Dislike often comes from not recognizing this vitality. Aging is not synonymous with stagnation. Seniors who are actively engaged, curious, and socially connected can challenge every stereotype we have about the limitations of age. They remind us that human potential is not bound by years. It is bound by curiosity, determination, and openness to growth. We must also acknowledge the silent pressure of societal timelines. Youth is celebrated, middle age is productive, and senior years are framed as a time of decline. This linear narrative creates a false sense of expiration on human contribution. When seniors live fully, passionately, and purposefully after 60, it disrupts these narratives, sometimes triggering discomfort or jealousy. Dislike can subtly arise from the threat to societal assumptions. But reframing aging as an opportunity rather than a limitation allows us to appreciate seniors as vibrant, active, and essential members of our communities. There is one final truth we must confront. Disliking seniors is a temporary and learned behavior, not an inevitable human reaction. The patterns we observe are largely cultural, conditioned, and shaped by fear, convenience, and misunderstanding. They are not reflections of the innate worth of older adults. By choosing curiosity over judgment, empathy over impatience, and awareness over automatic dismissal, we can change these patterns, not just for ourselves, but for the generations that will follow. This shift begins in our homes, workplaces, and communities, and it starts with awareness and intention. In conclusion, the real truth no one talks about is that seniors are mirrors, teachers, and bridges between the past, present, and future. Dislike arises not from their flaws, but from our own fears, insecurities, and societal conditioning. Every wrinkle, every gray hair, every moment of perceived stubbornness carries decades of wisdom, resilience, and life experience. By embracing seniors with patience, empathy, and respect, we are embracing not just them, but our shared humanity. Aging is not a decline, it is a continuation of life's journey, full of growth, meaning, and contribution. So the next time you encounter a senior, pause, listen, and honor the stories they carry. Recognize the depth, value, and brilliance that have only grown richer with time. And if this discussion has opened your eyes to the beauty and complexity of aging, make sure to subscribe, because together we can explore these conversations, challenge misconceptions, and create a world where seniors are celebrated, not dismissed. The conversation doesn't end here. Aging is a process we will all experience, and the sooner we reshape our attitudes, the richer our society will become. Every act of patience, every attempt to understand, every moment of genuine connection with a senior can ripple outward, transforming families, communities, and cultures. So reflect, engage, and act with awareness and kindness. The truth is simple but profound. Valuing seniors is valuing life itself. Embrace this perspective, and you not only honor the past, you ensure a future that celebrates wisdom, resilience, and human dignity at every stage of life.